detach the ego from the organic system and expand it in sympathy, compassion, fellow feeling and love to encompass millions of egos in society. This is called the spiritual growth of man. This is called psychosocial evolution in the language of modern biology. The psyche detached from one organic system with which it was attached throughout the life of the individual, and it is able to expand beyond this tiny organic system so that I live for others, I work for others, I work for the good of others, I develop the spirit of service and dedication, the capacity to communicate other human individuals. If I am only conditioned by the ego, I become, in the language of the late Bertrand Russell, a mere billiard ball. And the only relationship of a billiard ball with another billiard ball is collision. Human beings centered in the ego collide against each other. They cannot communicate with each other. Until we transcend the ego, the capacity for communication will not come to man. Capacity for love. That is why in modern biology we deal with man as individual, growing into man as a person. Individuality is centered in the ego. It wants freedom, but it has no sense of responsibility to other individuals in society. This growth is a spiritual growth by which individuality expands into personality. Personality involves the capacity for human communication. All teamwork, all spirit of service and dedication are byproduct of evolution of man from individuality to personality. The late Julian Huxley defined person and personality in a precise scientific sentence. Said he, persons are individuals who transcend their mere organic individuality in conscious social participation. The capacity to participate, not collide, but to participate. That growth is from the ego to something larger in man. So the Vedanta considered the ego like the tip of a mighty rock. You see it as only a small bit of a rock on the surface of the sea. But deep below is an immense rock, invisible to the eye, but that is a real rock. So also, man revealed as the ego is like a tip of an iceberg, tip of a huge reality. Sensory vision reveals only that much. Go beyond the sensory vision, then you will know your true nature as the Atman, as the Infinite One, one with all. There is only one Atman in the universe. You and I are essentially one. When Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself, there is no reason, but the reason finds itself in Vedanta. You are thy neighbor. The same Atman is there as well as here. Throughout the Gita, in the later chapters, you will find this idea, this samatva, this kind of equality, this kind of same-sightedness. We are the same in you, in me, in all. Not only we are brothers, we are essentially one. That spirit is introduced. To develop that awareness, you need the exhortation of this verse to be taken seriously into account. I work, I appropriate the fruit for myself, I fatten the ego, I remain confined within the organic system. No evolution takes place, no spiritual growth takes place in order to put man on the road of his own psychosocial evolution, on the road of his own spiritual growth. The Gita exhorts every human being to work you have the right, not to the fruit thereof. Let not fruits be your motivation, neither shall you be addicted to inaction. Even in producing results, you are not the only agent. How many factors are necessary to produce a result? Just like in industry we say, in this 20th century, the capital is not the only thing. All the profits should go to capital, we do not say. There is the employee, the labor, they also need a share. Then there is a state that needs a share. Then there is a community, and then the shareholder. How many people are there to share a profit? Why only one should share? So also every action must be shared by several people. The fruits must go to several. Don't appropriate it to yourself. Today's concept of profit becoming subordinate to service is the most progressive idea in industrial relations, and you find it expressed in this great verse, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu gadachana ma karma phala heturbhu ma te sangos tvakarmani. Having said this, what shall be the philosophy by which I shall work? That comes in the next verse. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Work from the point of view of yoga. Establish yourself in yoga, then do your work. That's a beautiful idea. Yoga buddhi, he had said earlier. Develop that yoga buddhi, then do your work. You will see it in its infinite dimension. Not a tiny thing. Work, get some profit, enjoy it, forget everything else. That kind of a tiny, contracted human being is not the ideal. An expansive human being who feels his oneness with all. How to develop that man? Krishna says, Yogastha kuru karmani. Perform actions established in yoga. Sangam tiktva. Giving up attachment to this tiny ego within myself. Dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samobhutva. Developing that equanimity as to success and failure. Then he gives a beautiful definition. One of the two definitions given in this chapter of what is yoga. What is yoga? He says, Samatvam yoga uchyate. Equanimity is yoga. Evenness of mind is yoga. One of the profound definitions is given here in biology, in that same book which I referred to earlier, Gray Walter's The Living Brain. There is a beautiful statement of the French physiologist Claude Bernard. In that statement, Claude Bernard says, a fixed interior milieu is the condition for the free life. There is a calmness, there is an evenness within, then only free life is possible. Now this is expanded by a famous British physiologist, Sir Joseph Barcroft. Gray Walter quotes him in that book, saying, nature has achieved a certain built-in equilibrium within the human body. It was not there in the early mammals. What is that? Thermostatic equilibrium. The bodily temperature remains constant, even though external temperature may vary. That's a wonderful mechanism. Nature evolved in later mammals, which made for the evolution of the higher brain in man. So this is called thermostatic equilibrium. It is one aspect of a general equilibrium within the system known as homeostasis. It is a great word in modern scientific thought. So that not only thermostatic equilibrium, but the composition of the blood remains constant all the time. When I work, it is disturbed and the body automatically restores that equilibrium. This built-in mechanism for creating an even condition within the body is known as homeostasis. That's why the statement of Claude Bernard, a fixed interior milieu is the condition for the free life. By developing homeostasis, man developed, or nature developed for man, this higher brain. What is the purpose of the higher brain? Gray Walter says, I am quoting his words, for mammals all homeostasis meant survival, but for man it means emancipation. Man can become free because of this interior milieu, which is stabilized. We are able to release the higher brain for purposes greater than homeostasis itself. By relegating the menial tasks of the body, such as mere survival, to the old brain, nature released the new brain in man for purposes greater than homeostasis itself, namely emancipation. Saying this, Gray Walter adds, this concept of homeostasis is not anything new. It is there in the ancient books of the world. It is the equivalent of nirvana, of samadhi, of peace that lieth within. All the great ideas in all spiritual traditions, he equates them with the concept of homeostasis. Nature achieved a physical homeostasis for man. Man has to achieve a mental, emotional homeostasis for himself. That is expressed in this beautiful sentence, Samatvam yoga uchyate. This tremendous energy of emotions within must be made even, must develop a certain equilibrium. Then only we can carry our psychic energy to higher levels of expression. Man's spiritual development needs this equilibrium at its emotional level. That's why in Sanskrit there are two words dealing with this inner homeostasis, Shama and Dhamma. Control of the mind, control of the senses. When these two are properly disciplined within, then a tremendous thing takes place. What is that? He reveals his own true nature, the infinite Atman. Just like the waves do not allow us to see into the depth of the lake where there is a beautiful gem, when the waves subside, we can see the gem. So also, when this emotional system is properly disciplined and tranquilized, something